Welcome to BIO105 in summer 2024. And I'm going to talk through the course expectations all right from the beginning to the end of the course, the dates, and also talk through the syllabus. And so here we go. Just to add that some of the students who are taking 105 lecture class, which is what this is about, are also enrolled in a separate course, BIO106 lab course. And so at USM, the lecture and lab courses are taken as separate courses. However, at a lot of colleges and universities, both are required. And so you want to make sure that if you are expected to take the lab course, that you also get signed up for that as well. Okay. And I'm teaching both, so just let me know. And the lab course is going to be just a small number of students, and it'll be just kind of fun, hands-on experience. We'll get stuff done in a workbook that we use for the summer in that course, and it all happens pretty fast because the whole first summer term is just 7 weeks long for both courses. Okay, so what should you be doing the first week of course? So make sure you get the textbook, okay? And if you don't have the textbook, the first chapters are on electronic reserve for our course through the USM Library website. And those are the only chapters I'll be able to put on reserve. You have to get it. These are just a few we can put on with publishers' permission for students that haven't quite gotten their book yet. And so here's where you find those reserved copies of the chapters. You go to Brightspace on our Brightspace course, so our course, our lecture course, and if you haven't used Brightspace before because you normally attend a different college or university and you need help getting on Brightspace, well, it's a really common learning resource at a variety of colleges and universities, and so you can just Google it and find a lot of help like that. Or you can get help through the USM Computing Help Desk like that. Those are better resources than me to find out about just getting logged into Brightspace and using Brightspace because a lot of students are just here for the summer and because of that don't have familiarity with Brightspace. We're just going to use Brightspace to a minimum, and what that's going to involve is I'll be posting numbered announcements on Brightspace, probably total about 15 or so announcements during our course, or 20, something like that. And each time I post one, you automatically get an email sent to your USM email address. And so again, if you have a different email address, you should be using your USM email address to forward those emails to your regular address, because you got to keep track of that, because that's where our course is going to take place. It's not an online course, but that's the resource that we use at USM. So to find these chapters, you go to our course home, and then you click on this content pull-down menu. And the content pull-down menu, you'd click on electronic reserves. That content pull-down is also where you'd find our syllabus. And and then inside electronic reserves, you'd click on this. And you need to be doing that through Brightspace, so you're logged in. You can't, if you have problems getting to this resource, you should contact the USM libraries. They're hosting that, and they can help you navigate to it. You might have to be on campus and logged in to your campus, to your USM account, well, physically on campus, but I don't think so. I think that these are a little more protected because of the copyright than some of the other resources on Brightspace. And so to get there, you have to go into you're really going into the library's resource from Brightspace. Okay, so, but get that textbook, and if you don't have it yet, and you want to get started, or you don't have it the first week, we really use just about all the chapters that are available to be put on Brightspace during the first week. So the second week, you're going to have your own book if you don't have it, in the first week. Then again, find our Brightspace page. I just described, we'll be using it to just a minimum amount. I'm not going to be posting grades or a lot of material on it, but just these announcements which will have essential information on them. So you just got to get to that and use that page like that. Okay, great. And then what's going on in our course is we just have 4 class meetings that are in-person meetings. And how can we do that? The answer is that during the pandemic, I recorded and I broke all the course material down into mini lectures, and I carefully made a bunch of mini lectures. And it turns out they're based on, because it was a couple of years ago, they're based on the previous edition of the textbook, but that's fine. And I also was using for a course, so I'll have to point at a couple of places where I make a comment, in the mini lecture video that's relevant for the course when I taught it at that time. But the bulk of them, and I've been looking through them, and they, even though there's a newer edition to the book we'll use, they're fine. They're great. I really carefully said what I wanted to say, and they're still current. And so we're going to use those. Now, you're required to take notes to demonstrate you're participating in the course, right? Because this is like, you don't have to come to class, right? We're not going to come to class and hear me on, nice summer evenings blabbing about, how much I love biology, right? Instead, you're going to watch it, but you need to demonstrate it. So every single one of these mini lecture notes, you have to keep things organized and take notes, and then take pictures of notes and email them to me. You're not going to turn in your physical copy, because with your notes, and we'll talk about notes a lot in this course, your notes are your first round of learning the material and organizing the material. Biology always has too much information in it, and the book tries to organize it with subject headings and bold terms and figure legends and so forth, and you need to use those resources and organize them to help you learn the material. Researchers who study education and how people learn have demonstrated over and over again that the best way for students to learn science topics is to physically write them down. And so this is the best way for you to start learning the material. It's a big job, but sitting in class would be a big job too. And so we're going to do that. This is also the material that used to review for the exams. And our final exam at the end of June is going to cover the whole course. And so you don't want to go back to the book and just start paging through it again. You want a more organized set of notes to cover. Then also, we're covering the book, but most of the questions on the exams are going to come from the mini lectures. So that's the starting point. You should watch the mini lectures before you read the chapters, because instead of just grinding through the chapters one page at a time, you should watch the mini lectures. I give you some guidance about this, central topics and principles and terms in the chapter, and watch that first and take notes on that first, because that's your primary learning material. Most of the questions are from the mini lectures or our class meetings or handouts, but also are covered in the textbook. There'll just be a couple questions that are from the textbook that just never get covered in a mini lecture or in class or in any handout like that. And that's because I really want you to read the book, get the book and really read it and tackle it, but start with the mini lectures. And so you have to keep up, and I'll be sending the links out to these as we go forward, and I'll send them out in chunks, and you have to keep up and just deal with all these. And separate from your notes, write down questions so you can bring to class or email me. I have a lot of availability to set up times to meet, most likely during Zoom, via Zoom, because there's a good chance you don't live right around here, but it could be in person or via Zoom. I have lots and lots of times to meet with you and follow up on these, but you really need to write down the issues you have, write down questions, confusions that you have as you're going through the mini lectures. And here's just an example of chapter 1. It looks like I made about 40 minutes of mini lectures covering chapter 1. And chapter 2, 3, 4, they have a lot of chemistry in them, and so I need to carefully introduce that. So there it's an hour and 15 minutes, like that, right? And I squeeze these in as much as possible so they're really dense, but I'm carefully trying to explain it. And I've been teaching at USM. I've been a professor at USM doing research and teaching for 20 years. I've taught this course a bunch of times. I've taught it this summer. I've taught it this format, just recently like that, right? And so I'm a helpful resource. And students have responded to these mini lectures and been really happy, right? It's a much better way to tackle new material than to be sitting live in class and hoping, to keep up with, try to write stuff down and learn it in class. You can pause, you can go back, and so forth. And I just want to show you, here's an example of some notes. And these are notes from the textbook. We're going to require you to take chapter notes for a few of the chapters in the textbook just to tackle the idea of organizing those into notes as well. And these notes look fine. Most students most of the time, they take these linear notes. So they just deal with things as they go through it. And but there's a lot you can do with your notes. And one of them is to have it be the learning process, not just like, sort of writing things down like you're recording it, but actually working on it. So here's a student's notes that are better, I think, than that. They get visual and working on some topics like that. And that's what education researchers mean by science is best learned by writing it down because it's physical. Another thing is notes can include flashcards, and the exams for this course are all going to be multiple choice exams, and in that kind of learning, a bunch of flashcards is really helpful. And so you can make a bunch of flashcards. You need to do a kind of combination of flashcards and these notes. But if you're taking flashcards, making flashcards, or doing some other learning tool, you should include those in the notes. I should mention that more and more students like to do these kind of notes on their computer. So they have, a drawing tablet and they like to draw it out on the computer. And you can do that, but my whole point is to try to help you teach you about note taking. And it turns out, again, that education research shows that taking those kind of physical notes on a laptop or a device are not very helpful. It's a different kind of medium. And, humans evolved in a physical world, and more of our experiences are electronic, and they're just not as effective. You can just kind of coast your way through electronic material, but when you have to stop and really work it out physically. And your notes can be messy. I'm left-handed. I have pretty sloppy penmanship, and they can have stuff scratched out and stuff. I'm not grading it for neatness. I'm grading it for learning effort. So again, your first time learning it, trying to work it out, trying to organize it, and then making a resource that you can use to review. And so the best way to do that is to take notes by hand, and you can put a really tiny app on your phone that just takes pics and takes a series of pics and turns them into a PDF. And you can just take the notes by hand, click, 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 take pictures, email the PDF to me, and always tell me what you're sending to make sure you get credit for everything you're sending. I'm going through it, and a lot of times it's a bunch of pages, and I could miss something, and so just to make sure you let me know what you're sending, okay? And so during the first week, back to this list, get the textbook, get minimal familiarity with Brightspace and being able to access that. Watch the mini lecture notes that are posted on Brightspace. Take notes, take pics of the notes and email them to me. Also be writing down questions and bring those to class or email those to me. We could answer questions by email, or we can set up time to talk like that. Then I should mention, and I'll mention it multiple times, the USM Learning Center is the tutoring center, and that's physically present in the libraries on each of the campuses. And that is functioning for our course this summer. So BIO105 has tutors in the Learning Center. It's all the introduction to that is online at the USM Learning Center website. So you can make appointments to meet with tutors, and you provide I'm pretty sure you can provide a lot of pre-recorded material about time management and study skills and so forth like that. Then our first class meeting is the first week of class, Tuesday the 14th, and it's in that location. And so come to class. We'll be getting stuff organized and getting familiar with the course and everything that's required. I just showed you this too, so you can have a physical, because again, physical is memorable. You can have it physically in your mind of what the plan is. So here we are. That's our first class meeting. We'll get stuff organized. Then really 2 weeks after our first class meeting is our first exam. And so we'll have a short review period, and we'll have exam 1. And in between those, we'll go over, I don't know, about 9 chapters. So the first week we're going through chapters 1 through 4. The second week I think it's like 5 through 7. And the third week we start getting it to 8, 9, 10. And our, we'll have some new material that's not covered on the exam, but we'll get through about that many chapters. Total chapters we need to get through about 20 chapters. So that's our exam 1. It'll cover everything we've had up to that point. And then just 2 weeks after that, we have exam 2. And that will cover a bunch of new material. And again, these are multiple choice question exams. There'll be about 70 questions on the exam like that on each exam. And then 2 weeks after the second exam, we have our final exam and our course is done. So you can see we have a Tuesday meeting to get going, and then we have Thursday, split by every 2 weeks like that. So a 7-week term, and we have exams every 2 weeks after that first week or second week like that. Okay, so that's the flow of the course, and we just got to get through it like that. Okay, and so that's a look at it, and then so come to class on Tuesday, and we'll get started. Then, in addition to this, read chapters 1 through 4. And write down questions, bring those to class, or email me, and we can, help you understand all that material. You're required to take notes just on chapter 2, that you email those pics of those to me, because I want to emphasize not just taking mini lecture notes to demonstrate your participation in the course, but also work on your skills at taking notes in the chapters, because biology as a science has too much information, and so scientists need to learn how to tackle that information by building a framework, writing down, drawing out a framework, and then adding details to it. And so we're practicing that skill and chapter 2, and you don't have to send me your notes for all the chapters. You're working on all those chapters, but just chapter 2 as an assignment. Take notes, take notes on all the chapters. Email pics of the notes for chapter 2 to me, like that. Okay, and next one is I'll send out some quizzes, and they're take-home quizzes, and they'll have a due date, and there'll be due dates for your notes that I'll keep keep you up to date on, and these are really practice. You need to do them on your own and to get them done, but they are going to be multiple choice questions that are very much like the exams. And so it's practicing for the exams. If we just roll forward and I give a first exam, a lot of students will be surprised. They'll be surprised of the expectation for the detail, the wording of the questions, and so forth. So we got to have some practice exams to get ready for the exams. Then I'll post a few handouts on Brightspace as we go forward, that match up with the mini lectures, and so I'll also share those. And so that's going to be, getting started on the first week, and that'll be the flow of our course too. Now let's take a look at our syllabus. And again, I pointed out earlier, the syllabus is on our Brightspace. I won't be physically handing out anything when our class meets, well, except the exams, but I won't have any handouts or the syllabus to physically share with you in class. Just going to save paper that way because it's on Brightspace. And so our syllabus is already on Brightspace. I'm really excited. This is my favorite topic. These are my favorite topics in biology, and I fell in love with these when I was in college, and just super excited. Like I mentioned, I've been a professor for 20 years, but I'm more excited than ever to be sharing this with students. So all through this course, the topics are my favorite, and I am like very well trained in these topics. I went to grad school at UCLA and Cornell and did a postdoctoral fellowship with the American Cancer Society in Seattle, like that. So I just have a lot of training in this, and I just super love all these topics, and I've taught a lot of students like that. And so, great, great. So our class meetings, there are 4 of them, and I just showed them on a calendar, right? And they'll include, the first one is going to intro, and the next 3 are going to be really short review plus exams. Then, get familiar with Brightspace, talk a little bit about that. There really aren't any strong prerequisites. There's some expectation for, writing skills and mathematics skills. But I think basically any college student will have those and be all set. So there's our textbook. You got to get a hold of that if you don't have it quite yet. We have those few chapters on closed reserve, electronic reserve. If you already happen to own the 11th edition, that's absolutely fine. You can use that. You don't have to buy the 12th. You don't have to buy the 12th new. It is the brand new one has some course research on it that we're not going to be using. If you're a student at USM, there are 2 semesters of Intro Bio, both use the same book, so getting the book is worth it. You can use it for 2 courses, and a subset of the bio majors at USM actually take 3 semesters of Intro Bio, and they all use that same text. So generally, it's worth buying it. And even if you go to a different college or university, there are many different intro texts, but this Campbell one is probably still kind of the number 1 text, or tied for number 1 in the United States. So there's me. I get a lot of emails. I'm also the chair of the biology department, and so if you can include BIO105 in the subject line, that would help me, sift through them and prioritize yours over other kinds of issues that are coming up. If you don't hear from me, it's just because I'm backlogged. Just send a message again. We can talk, in person, via Zoom, phone, like that. Just let me know, and we can talk about a lot of stuff. So we can talk about this course, and even if you're not in other courses at USM, your requirements to graduate, and even if you're not a student at USM, I talk to students about career paths and courses and internships and so on and so forth. Oh my goodness, I encourage you to talk to lots of different faculty members about that, but certainly I'd be happy to talk to you about that during the summer term, and also after it, anytime over the next several years. That's absolutely fine. It's a big part of my job, and it's a part of my job I really love because I've had a lot of students who've had a lot of success, and I've been a professor long enough to see those really that success really pay off for the student big time. And because success is happiness, right? That's what a big part of what we're just trying for, is to try to find a path for you to live your own personal, unique, happy life. And if I can be supportive of that, I will try. So happy to talk, and definitely like to meet everybody. This is such a funny sort of condensed course in the summer that it seems like unlikely that we'll get to know each other, but we can, and that would be great. So I have a physical office on campus. My research lab is right next to it. I'm often in my research lab rather than sitting down in my office. There are directions to it because it's a bit hard to find. And this is all from our syllabus. These are all more from our syllabus. Here's the basis for the final grade. You can see it's pretty straightforward. We have exams, and they increase in amounts, just because, again, that first exam can be pretty hard, even with those practice quizzes. Just because you're, like that. So describes your letter grade, and after exam, I'll share with you what your letter grade was for that exam, so you'll have a good feeling, if you got a B and a A minus for the first 2 exams, well, you're, getting kind of a B plus, right? Like that. And, your final exam could raise it a lot, or it could hurt it some. And the other assignments will have all those practice quizzes. We'll have those mini lecture notes that are required to be submitted. So that's a big part of your grade. So do a good job on those notes, whether they're from the mini lectures or a few of the chapters that you're also assigned to do. Again, here's information about the tutoring. That stuff's always getting updated. It's called the Learning Commons or Learning Center, and it's a powerful resource. The director of the Learning Center at USM is really, really successful. And so here, just look at, I think it's my last thing to share, or second to last thing. So you can just see our flow. So week 1, we'll refer to them like this. Week 2, week 3, week 4, like that. There's 7 weeks. So these are the topics, 4 chapters plus the mini lectures and some quizzes and maybe some other assignments, but those will be really minimum. And we'll have a class meeting. Then the second week, no class meeting, but we roll through more chapters. And then third week, Thursday of third week, we have our first exam. I say it'll be covering chapters 1 through 7. That sounds pretty reasonable. We might have some material from 8. We'll be in communications about that on the first exam. And then week 4, lots of work gets done. Each week you see we cover like 3 or 4 chapters. Then week 5, again, I'm estimating these chapters here. I might have to make a little bit of adjustment, but that's the flow. Week 6 and then week 7, I really just have a little bit more material on that final week, and because we're getting ready for the final exam that will cover everything. Oh, that's wrong. The final, the final exam is going to cover everything. It will emphasize that that newer material, but it's really going to have stuff from the whole course, because the whole course builds up. These final chapters are really a build up from the earlier material. But again, the details of the exams will probably get adjusted slightly, just slightly, but that gives you a good feeling for the expectation. Here's the final slide just to show you that one of the things I emphasize in our course is all about molecules and cells. And so the first chapter of our textbook is a little bit frustrating because it introduces the entire field of biology. And so our author talks about the big concepts and the big themes in biology. And we're going to really zoom in on a few. And these are really the 7 most important concepts that we'll learn, and they kind of overarch over multiple chapters in our textbook like that. And so some of them are, for somebody that's just getting started in biology, some are pretty surprising. For example, one of the most important themes we'll talk about is all cells exist in a water environment. And that's because water has a certain kind of simple but really significant chemistry for life on Earth. And we have a chapter 3 in our textbook is about water and that water environment, water chemistry, and not the water environment that has ducks, necessarily swimming around in them and plants growing in it, but rather down at that molecular chemical level and the behavior of water and the behavior of molecules and cells that are in that water environment. So kind of surprising, I think, for students to see this. And I should also mention, as a final mention, really the first semester intro bio course for science majors is the same everywhere in the United States. Every college and university really covers essentially this same introduction. The details are different, of course, the examples and so forth, and the emphasis are different, but they're really surprisingly similar. And again, remember, I super love these topics, and these topics and our understanding of these topics really exploded during my long lifetime. And so it's exciting to been alive during that time, and they're continuing to explode, so it's exciting for you. And one of the most important things we'll try to do is to try to make this course interesting for you, and and maybe help you fall in love with these kind of topics and biology and science in general. All right, awesome. So that's it for now. Thanks a lot.